You picture a packed dance floor, $15 drinks flowing like water, and effortless cash padding your pockets every weekend. But the brutal reality of the nightlife industry is that a venue with lines around the block can still quietly lose tens of thousands of dollars a month. This financial drain rarely comes down to poor management. The traps are literally built into the architecture of the business itself. This diagram shows the core deception of the industry. The massive ticket sales and expensive drinks are just the visible tip, propped up by an underwater structure of startup debt, exorbitant fixed costs, and staffing churn. To understand how a multi-million-dollar nightlife empire actually functions, we have to look past the velvet rope and calculate the invisible hemorrhage of cash that begins before the doors even open. Measured, operating a successful venue requires built-in foot traffic, which means securing a lease in dense, expensive entertainment districts like Manhattan's Lower East Side or London's Shoreditch. Rent in these prime commercial corridors runs between $150 to $300 per square foot annually. A modest 5,000 square foot space easily burns through over $1 million a year in rent alone. Then comes the construction. Transforming that empty shell requires acoustic engineering to avoid municipal noise complaints, custom lighting rigs, and specialized fire suppression. For a premier downtown concept, this upfront capital frequently exceeds $2 million. Once the space is built, operators enter a regulatory gauntlet. In major markets, acquiring a liquor license on the secondary market represents a six-figure asset purchase that sits permanently on the balance sheet. With massive fixed monthly costs locked in, every single week of bureaucratic delay waiting on a health permit or a certificate of occupancy evaporates tens of thousands of dollars in pure cash before a single drink is poured. Nightclubs operate by selling temporary elite status, using alcohol primarily as a vehicle for highly visible social signaling. Look at the raw economics of VIP bottle service. A standard bottle of vodka costs about $30 wholesale, but it is delivered to a table for $350 to $750, a markup exceeding 1,000%, driven entirely by the customer's desire to be seen. Operators map these psychological desires directly onto their floor plans using a concept called spatial math. This grid compares two identical 50-square-foot zones on the floor, a general admission area and a VIP table. Over a 3-hour window, 5 or 6 people standing in the general area might spend $200 on individual drinks. But that exact same square footage dedicated to a VIP table demands a $2,000 minimum spend, generating 8 to 12 times the revenue per square foot. To survive the massive rent burdens we mapped out earlier, modern venues are forced to aggressively shrink their general dance floors to expand these highly efficient VIP footprints. Keeping those margins intact relies on an industry metric called pour cost. To remain solvent, a venue's wholesale cost of liquor divided by the menu price must sit strictly between 15 and 20%. A standard $20 wholesale bottle of vodka yields about 16 standard pours. Priced at $14 a drink, that single bottle generates $224 in revenue, a massive 90% gross margin. This is why operators push highly specific, fast-to-pour cocktail lists. Beer and wine offer significantly lower profit margins and are highly prone to rapid spoilage. But extracting those margins hits an absolute physical wall at the bar. Top-tier bartenders can only process roughly 80 to 120 transactions per hour. If the staff is slow, revenue growth physically caps out, no matter how full the room is. And pouring those drinks requires a massive human infrastructure of barbacks, VIP servers, cleaners, and security guards. Managing the crowd and executing those high-margin transactions consumes 20 to 30% of the venue's total gross revenue. To guarantee the foot traffic required to fill out those expansive VIP tables, clubs routinely book nationally recognized DJs and artists. But look at the cascading costs on a typical booking contract. A $50,000 performance guarantee requires an upfront, non-refundable deposit. Add in the required technical writer for sound and lighting, plus a hospitality writer for flights and hotels, and the actual total outlay easily hits $90,000. These massive deposits place all the liability squarely on the operator. If a blizzard hits the city, or a competitor down the street throws a bigger party, the owner absorbs the entire loss. High-fee talent bookings function as high-stakes gambles, where a single slow night can evaporate an entire month of operational profit. These layered financial pressures feed into the classic 24-month failure pattern. During the first 6 months, the venue enjoys a honeymoon phase. Social media buzz is high, lines wrap around the block, and top-line revenue is fantastic. By month 12, the initial novelty softens. Regulars start drifting toward newer venues opening a few blocks away. Top-line revenue drops, leading the operator to panic spending or authorizing costly redesigns to win them back. This leads directly to the month 24 cliff. The operator is now running on depleted capital reserves and razor-thin margins. A single bad holiday weekend means they cannot make payroll, and the doors close permanently. Surviving past year 2 requires completely ignoring the vibes and treating the venue exactly like a clinical spreadsheet. The disciplined operator audits inventory variances weekly and strictly throttles labor costs. This comparative ledger shows identical venues in the exact same city. By maintaining strict control over pour costs and VIP minimums, the disciplined operator captures a $300,000 annual cash flow, creating a massive $187,000 gap over the loose operator. Nightlife empires are managed like clinical stock portfolios. The house only wins when you master the underlying math.